This one's important because this has been in the background for the last 90 days, the last 3 months, the deportations, the targeting of the criminals, and we're going to get Trump targeting, we got to get the criminals. We got to get them out of here. A lot of people voted for Trump because they were scared of the infiltration of illegal immigrants and all the crimes they're committing. And we're only going to go after the criminals. Well, criminals, in other words, that they had a criminal record previously, or are you calling them a criminal now that they are caught as an illegal immigrant? Now that's your crime. Okay. Well, fine line there. And we know with all the protesters getting arrested for free Palestine language, he can go even further with these other deportations, and it's the anticipation of crime. This is Minority Report in real life. Pre-crime division actually exists today. If you ever saw that film, Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg told us that the near future was going to be bleak because there will be a pre-crime division in place to stop you before you do something, which it seems like what's happening. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to piece this story together, starting with we're going to kind of reverse engineer it. So this came out a few days ago, and I'm going to piece this together for you guys because this seems a little odd, and that Trump's admitting this. And friend of the show, Derek Bros, tweets this out. I feel like someone warned this would happen. Trump's admin accidentally sent Maryland father to Salvadorian mega prison in El Salvador, and says it can't get him back. Let's see a piece of the story here from The Independent. The Trump administration accidentally sent a Salvadorian immigrant to a notorious Salvadorian prison and says it can't do anything to get him back. That's even though the man had protected immigration status in the U.S., specifically barring him from being sent back to that country for fear of persecution. On Monday, in a filing in Maryland federal court, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, admitted to mistakenly sending Kilmer Armando Abrego Garcia to El Salvador's notoriously brutal Scott prison. Oopsie. On March 15th, although ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error, the government wrote. The admission came in a suit from Abrego Garcia's family, who is seeking court orders barring the U.S. from paying El Salvador for the man's detention and demanding that the federal government request the country return him to the United States. So they're cutting off the money source. Oh, well, what's going on with the money source? Well, it turns out all the people that are being deported to El Salvador, to this horrible super prison, as they call it, are getting paid by the U.S. government to house them. There is a price tag on everyone's head. Every one of these people have been denied due process. Every single one of them. So let's piece this together. How did we get to this? How do we get to Trump taking away people's due process and sending them to a country, El Salvador, where none of them are even from? Apparently, the Venezuelans that were deported were apparently gang members. Trump told us they were gang members from Venezuela, and they ended up in El Salvador as well. But we never got to see if they actually were gang members, and they're in El Salvador. And this super prison that we're talking about, that Derek Bros is mentioning and the Independent is admitting to, the super prison is designed to drop people in and never hear from them again. El Salvador country is poor as shit. We know this. So they're going to take this deal. The deal is we will give you a price tag for every person we drop into your super prison. And that is what we call human trafficking. And in this case, it's government-sanctioned human trafficking between the U.S. and El Salvador. I'm going to have our friend over at Hotspot with RBN break down what actually happened here. So let's just watch a little bit of this so you guys can fully understand how we got to this point. And this has to do with our relationship with Venezuela and President Maduro. And he's the one that's actually telling us that this whole thing's BS. And the Venezuelan gang is actually a PSYOP and an FBI-funded operation, and is not something that's actively being put into the U.S., which Trump is accusing Maduro in Venezuela of purposely putting these gang members in our country. None of that is true. Let's hear the take from Hotspot.
Maduro might have just helped us solve this strange mystery of mass deportations of Venezuelans from the United States, not back to Venezuela, but to El Salvador. So to get you guys caught up, the Trump administration just wrangled up a bunch of random Venezuelans, claimed they were in a gang, sent them to El Salvador, and just put them in prison without a trial, without due process, and without a thorough investigation. The Trump administration claimed that these people were part of the gang Tren de Aragua, which is a gang and really an international criminal organization based out of Venezuela. Now, the reason everybody finds this particular mass deportation a little bit strange is because the Trump administration isn't sending these Venezuelans back to Venezuela. He sent them to El Salvador, to one of the worst prisons in the world, without any trial process. We don't even know if these people are actually part of the gang, and many of them have zero criminal history. I mean, as we speak, there are lawyers from Venezuela appealing to El Salvador's Supreme Court because they are questioning the legality of the detention of these Venezuelans, considering all the information I just gave you. Now, a lot of people might question, why is Trump so perturbed by this particular gang, Tren de Aragua, that he would just go after them and then just immediately throw them in prison in another country instead of sending them back to Venezuela? Well, Trump messed around and opened his big mouth and said it's because we believe Nicolas Maduro and Venezuela sent them here, the United States, to invade the country.
They emptied jails out. Other nations emptied their jails into the United States. That's an invasion. And these are criminals, many, many criminals. Murderers, drug dealers at the highest level, drug lords, people from mental institutions. That's an invasion.
Which prompted Maduro to tell the truth about this particular gang. Maduro lets the world know that this particular gang is actually used as a tool of the opposition to Maduro's government.
Nosotros quisiéramos que el gobierno de Estados Unidos dejara a un lado las mentiras que está diciendo. Ellos dicen que hubo un plan del gobierno venezolano para invadir Estados Unidos y que lo invadimos con la mal llamada banda del Tren de Aragua. El Tren de Aragua, United States, Tendency, se dice así, para que entiendan, la banda del Tren de Aragua sirvió a los intereses de la oposición que ustedes han apoyado en Venezuela. Iván Duque, presidente de Colombia, se llevó a las bandas criminales, incluyendo la banda del Tren de Aragua, de Venezuela para Colombia, y de ahí la diseminó. Leopoldo López con Gilbert Caro dirigía las relaciones con la banda del Tren de Aragua personalmente, y bastantes grabaciones tiene el FBI.
Maduro and his administration despises this gang. They literally sent the military to the prison that the gang was started because they basically turned the prison into a leisure complex for themselves. Maduro also makes it known that Leopoldo Lopez, a former opposition leader of Venezuela, has often worked with this gang to facilitate some of their criminal activities and also some oppositional activities within Venezuela. He also said that former president of Colombia, Ivan Duque, was accepting these gang members and spreading them all throughout Colombia, also assisting in their operations. And it's important to remember, Ivan Duque called Maduro a dictator, supported Juan Guaido, and wanted to see Maduro overthrown. And Duque supported the overthrow of Evo Morales. And then Maduro says the FBI has plenty of recordings to prove all of this, and that the FBI has even been involved. And as it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, an FBI agent got caught trying to tip off one of the members of the Tren de Aragua gang. So now all of this should be making sense.
Okay, stopping it right there. So I know this is a lot to throw at you guys, but I know personally because I did a documentary in Venezuela, worked on it for several years. So I know the Maduro government very well, the Chavez government before it, and the way the factions there behave on behalf of either the people that are the actual people, and then what they call the opposition. And the opposition is the one that they present to us here in the States, present to us that that's the people in the street, when that's really the rich, the higher end, the upper class, pretending to be in opposition against the Maduro and Chavez governments, which are socialist governments, which again, we know from experience, we know from our paper trail of criminal trying to take down different governments. We do this all the time. We assassinate democratically elected leaders. Shout out the Hotspot, Duopoly Destroyer, and the gang at RBN for this great video. But the historical context, it's hard to fully understand this. But if you guys just can remember the pattern of behavior, we infiltrate these governments. We try to assassinate these people. Maduro, we've had several hits, several coups that we have funded unsuccessfully trying to kill Maduro. We've tried to do that to his the previous president, Chavez, over and over until he died of cancer. But I don't know how he survived all of our coup attempts. But the point is, he survives, and then we do this little fake out, and we trick the American people that the opposition that's against Maduro are the people. No, this is all controlled opposition. That is so this gang they're discussing, this is not the gang that supports Maduro. Maduro's trying to stop this gang. So when they end up, as Trump says, they're in our country and Maduro put them here and he needs to send them back. The reason, and this is key, the reason, if you guys are wondering, why didn't Trump just send these 200 Venezuelan apparently gang members, criminals? We didn't give them due process. We didn't look into them. Turns out people have looked into them now. They don't have any criminal record and they weren't part of this gang. Why wouldn't Trump just send them back to Venezuela then? Why did he send them to El Salvador? Because that covers his ass. So we don't have to look into it. When they don't ever go back to Venezuela. So we can't account for what he did, and the people we won't have a chance to look at it. So let's just hide them away in what we call a super prison in El Salvador. And then Trump starts making these threats about, let's just start sending everyone there. The people that were burning Teslas, we'll send them to El Salvador. And the MAGAs are going, yay! And let's just send as many people, we'll just send them to El Salvador. Why? Because we are paying human trafficking numbers. We are paying El Salvador to take these people, take away their right to due process, drop them in the super prison, and never hear from them again. And hence, this is why we have this problem now that Derek Bros brought up, that oopsie, you accidentally sent someone that you shouldn't have sent there. Well, it's too little, too late. Too little, too late. And Derek Bros told us we knew this was going to happen, and they had to admit to it. And now we'll never get this person back, this Maryland father. We'll never get him back. But this is what we get for taking away people's rights. These fear campaign, that this xenophobic fear campaign, and covering our tracks, that we are the problem. We are the American imperialist, the Western imperialist machine that's creating all this chaos and havoc in these other countries, and creating the refugee problem, creating the migrant problem, creating this problem where we can blame all of this on them and then pretend that Trump is saving the day to deport them, get them out. And then he's using the same tactics that he does on them on our own people, as we're seeing. He's literally arresting students right now and all over the country right now. And he doesn't care if they even have a visa or a green card or are a straight up American citizen. We're just going to use the same tactics and just lock them all up, throw away the key, send them all to El Salvador, and we'll never hear from them again. And that's the game plan. And it's too bad the MAGAs can't wake up and see this. And it's too bad that the Democrats also don't fully understand what's going on here, because they're so easily able to put Trump in one brushstroke of a box and just call him a racist. And that's what's happening. And they're unwilling to look further. This isn't about racism of Trump. This is about the controlling of the military industrial complex and the Western war machine, and doing the bidding of the capitalist regime. In order for capitalism to function, it must insist upon itself, as they say, in ways of military might and pushing our aggression on every other country we possibly can. If they're doing something other than capitalism, we have to make an example of them and then show the American people this is what happens when you try socialism. This is what happens when you try communism. It fails. Really? It fails? Why don't you let us see it fail for itself? Why every time that another system other than capitalism fails, why do we always have to be the ones making it fail? Why can't, if it's so bad, let it fail on its own? Well, they can't answer that question. But again, this is a functionality of capitalism. It's not it's not an offshoot that we don't need, and we need to pull back on it and have a functioning proper capitalism. No, it's an actual functioning part. You have to have militarism around the globe in order for this to sustain. But it's not sustainable. We're figuring it out. We have to be willing to go a little deeper, a little more critical thinking skills, and see what's really going on, and stop writing people off as, oh, we have a racist president. That's why we have all these foreign illegal wars and murdering people all over the planet, because our president's racist. Yeah, that's why. No, it's because our system is designed to do this no matter who is in charge.